Okay, hey everyone, good morning. I recorded this one on kind of a whim. I didn't really have a plan or a course of action I wanted to take, but I had a little bit of reference and some lighting reference, kind of like what we've been doing before, but I wasn't staying super true to it. So I was just really just trying to have fun. And this video is going to be condensed down to 20-ish minutes. I like 22 minutes because it feels like a TV show. That way you don't have to listen to me babble on for like 3 hours, which I feel like people think is helpful, but then they kind of force themselves through it and then they never revisit it because it's so long and they don't know where all the good stuff was. So I think 22 minutes is a good length. And I figured while we're talking about this, I'm going to be very casual. We're going to sip my coffee and just chat about some of the things that I desire in my work. I think that might be helpful for you to hear. We've kind of gone over a lot of the process of, starting with simple shapes and other things like that, and it might be moot for me to delve into that now again for like a third time. But you've seen me do you've probably seen the final version of this painting, so maybe I'll have some comments on how it goes as we go. But for now, I wanted to talk about things that I desire in my work. So one thing that I'm always doing is I'm always trying to be critically self-analyzing and not bully myself or not talk down to myself or not hate on the art that I do or call myself bad or good or whatever. Just as if I were an outside observer looking in, I try to look at my art and say, well, what's missing to make this special? What about it do I need to be there for me to really grab on? And so one of the things that I do is I write a lot. And you guys don't ever see this because I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good storyteller or anything. I write things for myself so that as I'm thinking about them, I can give them concrete life. And so, I have my big Word document folder here, and I just kind of was flipping through it and looking at, diary things that I've written. Most of them are about painting. And I found this thing that things I desire in my work. I wrote this about October 2018, and it's mostly talking about my painting, my oil painting work, but I think a lot of it applies to my digital stuff, and we'll dive into it too. So first things first is lighting. A clear sense of direction, strength, and temperature. I don't necessarily want too much guesswork. I don't want to exaggerate all the lighting all the time, but I want when a viewer to look at, when he or she looks at one of my paintings, I want them to be like, oh, this is that lighting is coming from this way. I don't want there to be a lot of ambiguity in the light, because that's one of the things that really helps ground my painting in the fabric of reality, is the fact that the light seems like it is real light. It feels glowing. Like some of my favorite paintings are the paintings that you look at, and I've done a couple of them. They're hard to get out the door. Other people are masters at this type of thing, but you do a painting and you look at it and it kind of mimics that way when you're outside and you look at the sun, and it just is so bright and you just almost have to squint at the painting because it's just so strong. And that's not necessarily what I always want. A lot of times a more muted thing is best. And for this image in particular, sorry, I'm sipping on my coffee, you have to deal with that. For this image in particular, I knew I wanted to kind of balance this pink and blue. Pink and blue is one of my favorite color combinations. So I was like, oh, I want to balance this kind of like powder blue with this kind of like radiant pink, and everything else kind of came from those two decisions. And then next, almost secondary to lighting, is values. Something that I strive for is a strong systematic grouping of values that stay in the high key range but are not limited to that. And so when I say that, what I'm talking about, and this is just for me, these are the things that I want to see more in my paintings. These are not things that I recommend you copy or just say that you